Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this very beautiful day today, 27th day of June 2023. Hey, 3 days away from end of financial year. Well, this year has just flown past like anything. Today in Brisbane is 14 degrees and mostly sunny and a beautiful day, I must say it's out there. Well, let's get on with the news, and first of all, let's take a look at what's making news in the headlines, courtesy of ABC.
Russia's President Vladimir Putin has been seen for the first time since the short-lived insurrection by Wagner troops rocked his country. Mr. Putin addressed his nation just hours after the Wagner boss, Yevgeny Prigozhin, released his own 11-minute audio statement from an unknown location. Prigozhin has denied his private army was trying to overthrow Putin's government, saying it was simply a protest. Mr. Putin says the country was united against the mercenaries, but many of them are patriots. Australia's Deputy Prime Minister says the events of the last few days have, in his view, weakened Russia.
It certainly weakened the authority of Vladimir Putin. I mean, he remains in charge of Russia, but this is a crack in the edifice. And I think in that sense, what has occurred is very significant.
Meantime, Australia has pledged another $110 million in military and humanitarian support for Ukraine. It will also send a further 70 military vehicles, provide ammunition for artillery and give $10 million to the United Nations for humanitarian needs.
Long-awaited preliminary flight paths for the new multi-billion-dollar Western Sydney airport have been made public this morning. An online tool has been released allowing residents to search addresses to see if they fall under the routes. The $5.3 billion airport will be the first in New South Wales without a curfew. It is expected to open in late 2026.
So there you go. There's something to look forward to, landing in that airport, which will be without a curfew, meaning it can operate around the clock. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now, let's move on to Cairns, where the School of Defence or Distance Education, I must say, provides lessons for over 4,000 students.
It's a quiet campus for a school with more than 4,000 students, but one distance education teacher is speaking up.
They're under an illusion, potentially, that the child is achieving at a higher standard than is true.
Jeff Wall is a senior maths teacher at Cairns School of Distance Education. He's concerned about an email sent to staff in March. It sets out how students who do not complete any assignments or exams can be graded on participation and homework instead. It applies from prep to year 10.
And the system has set them up to fail.
The email's author also wrote they were a great believer in teacher professional judgment.
One of the big problems with people is, of course, we make a lot of decisions based upon emotions, feelings and other things.
Ken Purnell has been an assessment consultant for the Queensland Studies Authority for decades.
And I find that, in my opinion, very, very problematic. It's unfair to the student who receives it. It's unfair to the other students in that class in the school.
By enrolments, it's the state's second largest school. Mr Wall alleges it could lead to non-participating students being wrongly characterised as participating and given a grade.
A bunch of N students who, for whatever reason, are not participating, or what we sometimes refer to as ghost enrolments. They're on the books, but only ever on paper.
An allegation the department refutes. Education Queensland policy allows teachers to use formative assessment like homework to grade students in exceptional circumstances. But the March email encouraged teachers to make judgment calls. The department insists no policies have been breached.
If you haven't got the information from class and you're dealing with just a person who's at a distance, I've got no idea how you could possibly make a decent call.
The implications for students are huge.
Off-site and out of mind. Jemima Burt, ABC News.
So there you go. Do you reckon that's a fair system? I don't think so. So, I mean, look, participation is very, very important, and it should not be just based on a system or AI to judge. As said in the report, that people need to see people, judge their body language and all the things in now these days, and even on online classes, who knows who is filling in the assessment for who. So, these are things that need to be said. Well, now, lately we have seen some of the banks and many of the computer-based things, today we rely so heavily on the internet. Before it was like, electricity was needed for every little thing. Now every little aspect of our life is affected by internet. And when online or there is some outage with the computers and the servers or the internet goes down, there is chaos, as was in the case of Commonwealth Bank's outage.
Worried customers came down to these Sydney branches in search of help.
I was told I have to come back tomorrow.
I'm just trying to go to the branch now, but it seems to be like only one teller is working.
Sulji Yi normally pays rent by banking online, but with systems down, staff couldn't assist.
Yeah, I worry.
The ABC has spoken to furious CommBank customers who were left unable to pay medical bills and buy essentials like medication or fuel. One woman said she was livid after an online customer services officer suggested she borrow money from friends or family to avoid going without pain medication.
I think people do have a right to know what's happening with their money. Banks should be upfront with customers.
Commonwealth Bank posted brief updates on social media, apologising for any inconvenience but offering little information for customers wanting answers.
There are real problems moving to a cashless society, so it's incumbent on banks to compensate people not only for any financial loss but any severe inconvenience as well.
Gerard Brody from the Consumers Federation says customers who have suffered financial loss should make a complaint directly with the bank.
They are required to respond within 30 days. If the bank doesn't respond appropriately, you can complain to the Australian Financial Complaints Authority.
It's incumbent on the Commonwealth to explain what's going on. We're certainly looking for updates.
Late this afternoon, Commonwealth Bank apologised again and said its services were being restored. Michael Atkin, ABC News.
So there you go. Someone will have a lot of questions to answer. So by the looks of it, it could be the technical thing, more internet or computers based. Well, right now, moving on from Commonwealth, let's go to the federal government, which is going to change the way, on apartment rooftops, you might have seen all these solar panels on many houses, on many things. They're just springing up. The way they're springing up, it is going to be bit challenging. There will be new laws, there will be consequences, and mark my words, I have said this before, and he is one such example.
The owners in this apartment complex in central Canberra have thought about getting rooftop solar for a while. The expected price tag in the six-figure range has been the main sticking point, but the need is only growing as electricity bills do the same.
And with electric cars, that's going to be an issue, so we're going to have to look at that too for the basement.
New plans to bring down the cost of installing solar panels could benefit as many as 2,000 Canberra households living in units. Eligible buildings could get up to $50,000 in a grant or rebate from the federal government and another $50,000 in an interest-free loan from the Territory.
We are targeting this scheme, so it's not for your multi-million-dollar apartments that nestle around Parliament House.
The government is spruiking it as a win for Canberra's renters in particular. Almost as many of them live in units as live in houses.
There has been no support for renters and apartment dwellers by and large up until this point, so this is a very good start.
But whether or not a renter gets direct relief for their household budget depends on the type of solar system that gets installed. Some buildings might opt for separate solar meters for each unit, while in others it would be easier to use solar power just for the common areas, like the lifts and corridors.
It going to an owner's corporation, the house power, if you will, it sort of saves on the body corporate fees as opposed to directly to the back pocket of, a renter.
The government hopes those landlords might then limit future rent increases, saving money and power in the one hit. Patrick Bell, ABC News, Canberra.
There you go, but solar power, still some challenges there, especially on units and high-rises and apartments where, there are common properties. How do we manage it there? I will think of something down the way. Well, right now, let's look and move over to Victoria, where the police during COVID, the charges and all the laws that they tried to uphold at the time, were they all justified? Were they all overboard? Here's that report.
These are internal police records of all 37,000 fines issued for breaching COVID rules back in 2020. And in 3/4 of those cases, police actually recorded the racial appearance of people. So that's why we can see this breakdown. Now, they were obtained under freedom of information laws by Melbourne Community Legal, and the entire data set has been reviewed by ABC News. And as you say, it shows that of those people where the actual racial appearances were recorded, some 20% went to people of Middle Eastern and African appearance, even though they make up only 5% of the population. And those who looked as if they were Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander, well, they were fined, they took up some 2.5% of the fines, even though First Nations people only account for 1% of the population.
And what has been the response step so far?
Victoria Police has issued a statement. It says that Victoria Police rejects any suggestion that officers targeted specific ethnic groups for COVID-19 offences. This is simply not true. It goes on to say that police were deployed throughout the state and officers were routinely reminded to take a consistent approach. And while there was discretion, they were able to apply. Those fines were issued for deliberate, blatant and obvious offences. This data breakdown has also revealed that the fines also skewed younger. The median age of people who recorded fines was around 28, even though that's 10 years younger than the general Victorian population. And among those of Middle Eastern and African appearance, it was skewed down to 23. So we've heard from community legal officers as well, who are saying that many are still struggling to pay off some of these COVID fines.
So there you are. Was it a matter of target? Were groups being targeted? Or did the race and color of your skin, attract more fines? But the data is out there and it is hard to, quarrel with data. So you may say whatever you like, but if there is proven data, there is statistical reports that you can go by, then of course that's what it is. That's where the results are. That's what the truth is. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to go to our functions and events. ladies and gentlemen, that's about all we have time for you today in this segment. It's been wonderful having your company as usual. And don't forget that we have the Palki Festival happening this weekend as well. We'll probably bring to you that interview once again, just for your reference. And as I mentioned before, until tomorrow, it's goodbye from us. Wonderful to have your company. Have a beautiful Tuesday.